How you guys doing this morning? So I posted or shared, I guess is the right answer, shared an article from the Business Journal yesterday evening. I think it was produced on the 5th of December. Basically, where it called out Fresno as the sixth, um, I guess, best city to kind of look for real estate in 2019. Um, Basically the genesis of the article, which I have printed out because I'm over 40, so I print everything. Is the coastal cities in California have sort of seen their time. Affordability has become an issue. People are leaving, can't afford to live in the high-priced areas, so they're moving, to more affordable areas. The talk historically has been about going to Arizona, Texas, Nevada, but what this is really calling out is many people are moving to Fresno, as it's the largest city on the inland in California. So I posted that, and I got a couple of questions from some folks uh, who have chosen to invest in other areas, and I thought I would just go through them, right? Instead of answering one question at a time, I thought I would just add them to the subscriber question. So the first series of questions is basically tell us about your experience, your ROI, what you've seen out there. Um, so ROI really boils down to sort of when you got in, right? Um, if you look at the assets that we picked up, sort of 2010 through 2012, those are up 2, 3, 400%. Really not a fair comparison. Um, if you look at the stuff we bought back in, at the stuff we originally bought in '03, um, if we had still owned them, because again, we 1031 exchanged out of them at the peak. But if we'd still own them, they're right about break even. So it's really about, time as far as purchase price, which a lot of people talk about. Where I want to go is, because again, I'm a buy and hold landlord, right? Is actually rent increases. I think rent increases is far more interesting discussion. We were basically flat for a decade, right? About maybe 8 years. Maybe we saw $25 or $50 over that span, but not much. But what I've seen just in the last couple of years is that kind of rent pressure has really taken hold, right? We saw rent increases well over $100 or over 10% in many of our properties last year. We're seeing some of that already, trickle into our rent increases in January. So rent increases have gone up probably, I would say 20%, maybe 25% in 3.5 years after kind of 8 years of nothing. So rent increases is pretty good. The next question is, what do you see for the next 10 years? Again, I think if you focus on affordable homes, right, the stuff that makes sense as a rental instead of Park Place and Boardwalk, right, you do affordable like the light blues in Monopoly. I think it's Connecticut or something. Um, you're going to be just fine, right? You can't build a home today for what we can buy these homes for. So if you're buying below replacement cost of a new home or like condition, you're protected, right? And again, these homes are already built, so you don't have to pay all these trade tariffs. It's already got wood and wiring and all these other components, so they're already there. I think population, as the article from the Business Journal called out, are only going to be increasing. I think it's going to be increasing in kind of the right bracket, which I mean by that is the younger generations, right? The older generations, they're kind of already in the expensive areas. Um, but what really matters is what's going on with the younger generations. And I think they're going to be more mobile. I think they're going to live in cheaper areas because they have to. So I think Fresno, if you want to be in California, Fresno's still the fifth largest city and the largest city not on the coast. So it has a lot going for it. Um, Next question is, basically, what are the returns on price increases? Nothing's been like my Bay Area home. Um, I mean, that's an interesting concept, right? And I hear lots of people say that. And what I typically say to that is you really haven't seen the return on your Bay Area home or stock for that matter until you sell, right? So I would ask you, are you selling your Bay Area home? If so, great, cash out at the top, right? Just like, did you sell Amazon at the peak or did you think it was going higher? You really don't have a return until you sell. And that's what a lot of people, kind of get enamored with their home where they live in is, it's up, it's doubled. It doesn't really double until you sell. So I would ask you to think about that. Prices in Fresno have gone up substantially, but in an absolute number, the Bay Area's crushed it, right? Our tiny little condo is up. It's up 100% in, I don't know what it would be, 6 or 7 years. So it doubled in 6 or 7 years, and it doubled, before that. So the Bay Area is just not fair. But again, the Bay Area is not where you buy rentals, right? You wouldn't buy a rental here. You'd go bankrupt. So this is not the idea. The last question is, why not other areas of California? They list Modesto, Sacramento, Chico, Redding, Yuba City. Of that list, Sacramento would be the only one I would even consider, because I like to be in a larger metro. Fresno City is over 500,000 people. Fresno County is, I think, just over or just under 1 million people. So I like that, right? It's diverse population. It's got lots going for it. It's not kind of a one employer town. When I say that, I think of Merced back in the day, that where everybody was investing there and they were building these 400K tract homes, and people quickly realized that teachers don't make that much and students don't need that stuff, and it's those kinds of things. So that's so I don't invest in small areas, right? I want the area to have 500,000 people. That's where I kind of feel comfortable. So Fresno certainly has that. Sacramento's close. I think they're in the low 400s, maybe 450, so close enough. But I would ask you to look at Sacramento versus Fresno, which I have. Sacramento's about it's about 50% higher in price, and the rents are only 10 or 15% higher. So again, the return is not there. So, and I guess the last question is kind of, what are prices going for out there? So the prices that I recommend you look for are sub 200K, right? Single family homes. That's where I want you to be. Rents are going to be, depending on the unit configuration and parking and area of town, somewhere between 1,100 and maybe 1,500, depending on what you're going after. But those are what out there, and then it's based on condition and all of those other things. So it's hard to talk in broad terms. But I do say below 200. I would say rents you can look at between 11 and 15, again depending on configuration. So I think Fresno has a lot going for it. It's definitely a buy and hold area. It's not a market you buy for appreciation. It's not the Bay Area. It's not going to go up 200 grand in 18 months or whatever it's been in this crazy area. But also I would tell you, Bay Area is likely going to see a fall, and I don't think Fresno will. Right? I think affordability in the Bay Area and Orange County and LA and all these areas that are going for 7 figures, not going to hold up. It's going to be frothy, and the market's going to take it back. So that's why I like buy and hold in places like Fresno, because I can have my tenant pay it down. It cash flows. Can be financially free on it. You can't do that in the Bay Area. Don't buy alligators. You've heard me talk about that all the time, and the Bay Area is full of alligators. So in the end, hope that helps with that question. If not, leave a comment here in YouTube or on Facebook. Take care. Bye.